All right, let's do it live on a First Friday Miracle edition of the program. Merely Bo, and look who's here. He's back, baby. Look at the glow. God, you just emanate just warmth and love just emanates from your every pore.
It felt good to be in the sun, I can tell you that.
Sucked
that was
it right up, didn't you?
A rude awakening coming back, but yeah, it was great. Great time down there. Of course, when I go to Florida, as everybody who listens to Monday's show knows, if I go to Florida, it's obviously
Something's happening.
Something's going to go down, and I will call in, which I did.
You did. Yeah,
I got to see a video of Gibbe struggling to know if he was on air or not, which brought me great joy.
It's great.
Although I did have one thing to say. So, for a long time, one of the things that's really touched me in my life is when That's really warmed my heart, and speaks to, I think, our friendship and our mutual respect and admiration.
That's right.
You always lead off the show. I'm Merely Bo, the great Z, and I'm always like, no, you're better than Merely Bo, and we push back and go back and forth, but it's wonderful. And I was like, I really did think that the great followed by Z was for me, and then I turn in and I see it's Bo and the great Gibbe.
You got to coach him up. That's a big show that he and I were having to do. I got to get him. So you're 10 feet tall and bulletproof. I got to have him. It's just like coaching little kids. You got to get him fearless.
I would have liked the amazing Gibbe.
I had to have him fearless. And I like the alliteration of GG. So there's that part of it as well.
I thought that could play into it.
The alliteration certainly helped. But no, I needed him believing he was you.
Well, yes, because I figured I could derail it in 30 seconds and have us in meetings for the rest of the day and potentially be unemployed by the end of the day.
He had me for 15 minutes showing him how it's done. Right there.
Right back. Right back.
Yeah, from a sun-kissed beach.
Yeah.
I actually had to walk away. Miss K documented it, as she does. Me, I was under some awning somewhere on the phone. Because I'll tell you what, 75 in the direct sun down there is actually pretty hot.
Well, yeah, you're near the equator. It's more so than here, brother.
Certainly, significantly
significantly more so than here.
Walking back, oh man, when you just stepped off the plane into the jetway back here, you're like, oh man.
I think that's the most sobering. That's one of the more sobering, personal chemical reactions you have is coming back from someplace warm to someplace like this time of year. And you and I have had this discussion. Is it better to have never gone and don't know what you're missing and just pedal to the metal and go through it? The answer, I agree, is no. But there is something about landing at Hopkins, and if it's at night feeling the cold, or if it's in the day and feeling the cold and the lack of sun, that you just go, God.
Well, that's the worst, is normally when you come back down through the clouds and then you see gray, snow-covered tundra, and you're like, oh, my goodness. So at least thanks to the wonderful delay from Frontier that we landed in the darkness. So it wasn't until you really stepped in the jetway.
How big was the delay?
I believe – so here's the thing. So now I guess if it's a 3-hour delay, you get some type of compensation.
Oh.
So at 2 hours and 50-something minutes is what, in my back and forth with somebody from Frontier was, that's how the delay were. Except we pushed back from the gate, and then we sat 10 feet from the gate for another 20 minutes.
Oh, so that's what they're doing?
So it really went over 3 hours.
But they're going to argue semantics?
They don't care. I paid for an exit row seat. They changed planes. The guy in front of me was supposed to be in 1C, ended up in 18B, which is a middle seat.
Slightly different.
And they're like, oh, yeah, you can get a refund. And I'm like, I told the guy, I said, hey, I got this. He goes, I don't know.
Yeah, what are you going to do?
Okay.
How are you going to get it?
I mean, listen, I had made the vow after they cost us thousands of dollars on our Disney trip. And really, that's the one where we were on the plane ready to take off. And they were like, actually, there's no pilot here. The pilot never made it, so you guys got to get off. Or he'd flown too many hours or whatever it was, whatever. And they're like, it was a Friday, I want to say. Like, oh yeah, the next time we can get you guys to Orlando is Tuesday. We're like, we had a 5-day vacation that's booked, parks,
all of
hotel, all of it.
I don't know if you know how Disney works, but
it's not free.
No,
they don't just. You're supposed to get me there. They didn't. So I tried to be done with them.
Here's the problem.
It was the only nonstop.
It's the nonstop. There's obviously a financial benefit usually with them. Not as much as it used to be, but there is a little. And there's a direct flight nature to it. So you're going to be wooed back in because guess what? We have no options. There's do the game of go to our airport and go show me all the places I can fly direct. Ain't much.
Not much.
Not much. There was a time.
When I moved here, when it was the Continental Hub for in the Wayback Machine, was glorious. And then even for a short time, we were a United Hub. Now you look at that Concourse D and you say, those used to be regional jets that would take you nonstop pretty much anywhere you wanted up and down the eastern seaboard.
That's right. No longer.
No longer. No.
Outside looking in.
Great trip, though.
Good for you. Regenerated.
Incredible to like.
What's going on with this elbow?
I don't know.
I don't like how you're. I don't like this.
I don't know.
This seems like the problem is when you're our age, and you get something
I have no
like
idea
that.
what it
you're
is.
like, what could I have done? And it could be something as
I was doing close grip bench, and it just kind of felt a little funny. And then sometimes it feels like nothing. Like there, it's fine. Who knows? Whatever.
This is what happens.
I'm not worried about it.
This is what happens.
Yeah, so pretty wild Monday, though, to have my phone blowing up, and they're like, oh, man, what do you think? I'm like, what do I think about what? That was Monday of Super Bowl week. I was not expecting the Myles Garrett bomb to drop, which it certainly did, and we covered it, and I'm sure we'll cover it some more. But
so last night we're at dinner, and Beamsy goes, Myles Garrett was traded to the Bears. And I go, I don't think that's accurate. I think I would know. I know we had a lot going on in the afternoon, but I think I would know if Myles was traded to the Bears. And he goes, and I said, where'd you even hear that? And he goes, Bootsy told me. So I go, Bootsy, where did you get that Myles was traded to the Bears? He goes, I saw it on YouTube. And I went, you saw who? From who? And this is the world we live in now. To them, there is no difference between Stitch or Squad or John or whoever's doing these things on YouTube.
Show Speed.
And Adam Schefter.
Yeah, right.
They're the same to them. There's no difference. They can't differentiate. They see something. Now, I think Orlovsky put it in like a hypothetical, like Bears number 10, 39, and 41 for Myles. I think he put something like that out. So my guess is what happens, having three boys and understanding how they consume stuff on YouTube, my guess is somebody on there took that and then spun it into this is what it would look like.
Yeah.
And turned it into content on YouTube. But they can't tell the difference.
No, they think anything that's on the internet
them,
is real.
It's all the same.
It's not on TikTok.
Which is crazy because both what do them and like my dad's generation have in common? They believe everything they read on the internet.
Yeah, that's right.
They both do. It comes full circle.
Yeah.
Meantime, like same thing with the Luka trade on Saturday. Like when I saw that at 5:30 in the morning Sunday morning, I'm like verifying.
Please.
Aviators for the walk.
Yeah.
Aviators for the walk. Pop collar. Yeah. Business.
Look at them. Business. Good to see you, man. Good to see you.
He's back.
Yes.
Business.
Yes.
Running a business.
Running a business. I heard he was even taking shots at me yesterday in a big meeting, and I wasn't even here to defend myself.
I don't know. I'm not in the big meetings, but I would take the people who told you their word for it that he would be.
Yeah.
Yeah. To them, there's no difference. And so even when the Myles stuff broke Monday around 11 o'clock, it's like it used to be just look for the check and then you're good. But now you can't do that anymore.
No, because the check
can be purchased. So there's no way of doing that. So you don't even know what you stand for on it. So it's a tricky thing to try and track down misinformation. So yeah, that was last night at dinner. Was that?
Yeah.
So there you go. Well, it's good to have you back. It's good
Great to be back. Great to be back. I will say, let me look through this where we've got the. All right, we got our first. By the way, shout out to G-Man.
Yeah.
And I thought we gave him some good direction, but we're going to go through and we're going to take a look at basically every team in the league and let you know where they stand as you get ready for the draft and free agency and all that, which I think is going to be a lot of fun. We've got this. Where's the Jordan Reed quarterback stuff?
It's coming up. It's in here.
Oh, higher or lower at 2:30
today.
2:30.
Okay.
You can give some thoughts then. You have some time to give some thoughts if you would like.
So I spent here, I'll show this to you. So I spent my flights down, my flights back, which was an ample amount of time on the plane back, and went through, as you can see, some copious notes we've got here on both. I did Cam Ward and Shedeur.
Oh, look at you. You took notes.
I got notes. I got
specific
breakdowns. Plays.
Yeah.
I got it all for Shedeur and for Cam. I've done 4 games of Shedeur, and I think only so far 2 games of Cam, but I will do more to complete it. But I think I have a pretty good I've got 3,500 words on the two of them that I think I've got a pretty good handle on. And I went into this really blind. I hadn't read anybody's scouting reports on them other than, what you'd see in those mock drafts, decision-making
blurb here or there.
But went through it. And I got to tell you, without question to me, this is Nathan Zagura's one man's opinion, there is no doubt in my mind, Uncle Rico, that both of these guys are worthy of the second pick, and both of them could turn you around quickly. Different. They are different.
Yeah.
But so impressed with both of them. I watched Shedeur first and was, honest to goodness, I was blown away by him in terms of three things, which, by the way, were the three things that kept popping up in every blurb that Tom Brady's going to love. Tough, decision-making, accurate.
Yep.
Like, he is... I didn't know what to say. Everyone's like, the circus. And I
think
guarantee...
that's a bunch of nonsense.
And Dion will bring some of it.
Dude,
he's a personality.
He is running a 3-ring circus. That's what college football is.
Yes.
He has to say, look at me. He went to the worst Power 5 job in America, a place where they hadn't won in a very, very long time, where there was no real recruiting identity at all, and he tried to flip it in a hurry, and the only way to do that is to say, hey, look at me, come here. I think it's one of the biggest bets in college football history, him going to Colorado. And not just stay. He could have stayed at Jackson State, and they could have played there. He could have waited till an SEC job came open, and he could have went there. He went to Colorado. You want to talk about gamble? That's as big a gamble as can be.
Yep.
So, how else was he going to get kids to come to Colorado, if not to say, look at me, look at me, look at me, right? So, I reject the notion that there's any sort of circus surrounding Shedeur because of who his dad is. By the way, his dad is he is in the game. The all-time Hall of Fame game we talk about in Canton.
Oh, yeah.
When they play,
He's in that game.
He's a starting corner.
Yeah.
He's one of them.
No doubt.
So, and that's not even a debate. So, the notion that, he's going to be some big problem, I don't see it.
He's probably starting corner and one team's returner, and the other team's returner would be Devin Hester.
Yeah, I think you're right. You're
probably
right. Yeah.
By the way, guys, do we have the ability, this is just thinking out loud for future segments, as we are both a radio show but also cater to a streaming audience here as we look in the camera, if we were to, could we put, plays up? We could? Okay.
We have the capacity to do that.
Okay. So
G-Man is...
I think, there should be a show where we do, one down the road a little bit where we do, 20 plays of Shedeur and 20 plays of Cam Ward. Good, bad,
I like
all of it. I think that would be a fun thing to do. So would you, at this point, we're in, we like to do bombs out of the gate. Do you want me to talk a little bit about kind of my takeaways?
Yeah, we'll do the mock draft with Jordan Reed, but I do. This is something you said you were going to do.
Yeah,
we certainly have the time.
That's a higher or lower. That's a higher.
Yeah, that's a higher or lower. So yeah, I think what I think is, you were college football Nate this year, but these two programs weren't really in the mix in terms of the playoffs. So I know that you were mostly concerned about the teams near the top. So you went into this pretty blind,
totally
other than
blind.
just kind of what I've talked about Shedeur quite a bit on the show, and I'm curious if my view matched up with what you saw on tape, because I rejected the notion that he doesn't have elite traits. I think that's nonsense.
He definitely does.
Yeah.
So here's what I got. Shedeur, arm. Seems good enough to make any NFL throw, even in tight windows. Can flick it to the far sideline, no problem from the far hash. Deadly accurate in 10-plus to 20-plus with plenty of arm strength to navigate the middle of the field in tight windows. Release, good, compact, over-the-top delivery, very high release point. Slightly elongated windup to get it going at times. Feet usually in line with the throw, but can throw from many different foot positions, including on the run and with feet open left of the target. He can flip his hips and flick it quickly on shorter throws. Releases faster out of structure than in structure. Very comfortable throwing on the run either direction. Right, so easy and a natural flick of the wrist. Left likes to stop, flip his hips, and rip it, which is very Jeff Georgian, which was a thing that I liked about him. And actually, Cam Ward does the same thing. Pocket. Good feel for the pocket, but will drift left at times. Really natural feel for the rush. Shows the ability to climb or slide left or right. Comfortable doing that and ripping it to the hold field. Buys time to throw. Eyes always down the field, not looking to run as much as to extend the play to throw the football. I love his Jeff George straight drop back. He does that. You know what I'm talking about? And I haven't seen anybody do it since. He had some Jeff George things that I really like. So when he would take the snap and then he just goes back like this.
Yeah, just kind of
the back, and he can throw it left or right.
That's an old school,
very old school drop
way of doing it. Yeah.
So he did that. I said that was very natural for him. Lets him read the whole field, hit his back foot to stop drift and deliver it. Climbs the pocket with both hands on the ball, eyes downfield. I like that. Escapability, was running for his life against Nebraska, often made the first free rusher miss, and I would say he does that a ton. He's strong, not easy for the first guy to get down. So even though he's not huge, he does have an ability to extend plays. I mean, I was watching Nebraska. He was just getting – what's amazing to me after watching this, and we'll get to that to toughness in a second, but just big picture is that this is Deion's kid.
That's right.
And he did not, or maybe was unable to, get him a serviceable offensive line. I mean, I cannot tell you. There was in Baylor a stretch where I think he got sacked 5 plays in a row, and he made 1 or 2 guys miss on each of those 5 plays. There was one where they had it was a 4th down sack, and then it was 1st down sack, 2nd down sack, 3rd down sack, and then I think the next time they got the ball, they were at 3rd and 37.
Yeah.
All right, accuracy. That he just didn't get him a better offensive line.
So the reason for that is it's the hardest thing to get in the portal because all the best teams are basically kind of the thinking in college football at the highest level is let's not spend NIL on 17-year-olds.
Yep.
Because offensive line is kind of the only position in college football where you can't come in right away and play. Yep. You need a couple of years to develop your body. So what big-time programs are doing is they're saying, let's punt on this and we'll go address it in the portal. And so from Colorado's perspective, they did get the number 1 offensive tackle in the country last year, but he was a true freshman. So he's a true freshman at Colorado.
Did he get hurt this year?
I can't remember if he played, but still, he's a freshman. There's no freshman on the offensive line who's ready to go. They're not.
Dude,
they just can't do it.
Not ready. I'm talking about they weren't blocking people.
Yeah.
He had unblocked rushers all the time. All right.
So that's why. So they tried to do it in the portal. There's not enough offensive line talent in the portal to go around.
Okay. Accuracy, very accurate, even into tight windows. Not afraid of a tight window throw. Very good at them. Throws with a ton of anticipation against zone. He has a great feel for that. Also good on crossers. Usually hits them where they don't have to break stride. He can get rack. Does miss some throws, usually from off-platform stance, though, but misses some short ones. Ball does sail on him sometimes, but usually to the sidelines. More dangerous in the middle of the field. More often than not, placement is perfect and leads the better rack. His ability to hit guys as they catch it and accelerate and turn short throws into huge plays is something that's astounding to watch.
I think Horn was number 5. Travis was obviously 12. They hit him on crossers.
So he had 5. He had 14 was good and 10. He had 4 players that he could make all of them make big plays.
Yep.
Tough. Will hang in the pocket and take hits to deliver the football. Took a beating versus Nebraska. No bad body language. Battled and competed to the very end. Very tough. Total pocket guy who is not afraid to take a hit and deliver the ball. And I'm talking about standing there knowing that a guy is coming at him unblocked, and he will stand there, deliver, and take just a wallop and get up. And never once did I see him gesture towards anybody on the line. Never saw him hold his hands like nothing. Tough. Stud. Decision-making, very good. Elite. 99% of the time seemed like the ball went where it was supposed to in structure. Out of structure, at times tried to do too much, but honestly, I would say his decision-making is elite. Understands the game, has a natural feel for where the ball should go, sees it very well, and that allows him to throw with incredible anticipation. As a runner, would rather extend plays to throw. Good escapability, but not going to hit a ton of long runs. Sometimes early in the season, he didn't do this as much, so he should take 5 yards running, try not to make a hero throw. But as the season went on, he was kind of remind me of Mahomes a little bit. Where
he does have a little of that.
Not a runner, but if it's 3rd and 9 and it opens up, he'll go get 11 and slide and get a first down and extend the drive. So he did that a lot, especially in the game against Baylor, which Baylor had significantly better athletes than they did up front versus his line. I mean, it was ludicrous at times. As season went on, better at running, uses legs mostly on 3rd downs to extend drives. Mahomes like in that way, not a runner, but when you need it, he does it. See the Baylor game, I said. And also very good when the pocket is moved naturally, rolling right, rolling left, waggles, all that. And you think about ours doing the Stefanski wide zone play action boots, he's going to be so comfortable in that. And he did some of that with Pat Shermer out of the shotgun more or out of like the pistol where he'd go this way and then, boot around Lamar style, but was very comfortable doing that. He, clutch on 3rd downs, definitely makes some incredible plays on 3rd downs where he gets away from one guy, breaks it out, buys time, and then makes a ridiculous throw. I was much more impressed than I thought I was going to be, honestly. Much more impressed. Can handle RPO stuff if you want to do that. He did it. There was one, right here, what was I talking about? Oh, play number 43 against Baylor. They're down 14 in the 2-minute drill. Play 42. He throws a great seam ball to the back shoulder away from the safety, get a big gain on 2nd and 20, down 14, and then on 3rd and 3, gets away from an unblocked rusher, goes to the right, drills 4, gets out, hits number 4, who actually breaks the tackle, took to the house to make it 24-17. He made that play, and given the circumstances, it was a monster play. There was one I took pictures of in that game where he throws the ball, and the time he threw it, I was like, I don't even know who he's throwing this to.
Yeah.
And it was Hunter. He throws it from the 50. The receiver's on the 35 when he throws it with 5 defenders there, but he just knew where they were going in the zones and where Hunter was going, and Hunter catches it on the 10. Like, just unbelievable anticipation. And he's a stud on 79. He'd been sacked 5 plays in a row. On the next one, he stands right there with a free rusher and gets it down to Hunter for a big PI. Just leader, winner, falls on the ball when it's knocked out of his hands, able to like push his running back in the end zone in overtime in that Baylor game. I just was very impressed. Very impressed. And I think in our offense in particular, I think he's going to be very good.
His football IQ is pretty off the charts. His accuracy's off the charts. That's why it really bugged me when I would hear people say, "Oh, there's no elite traits." I'm like, no, there are. So everything that you saw on film, much of that is stuff that I've talked about with him because I've watched them play probably 8-10 times this year and probably 15 times the last 2 years, just because they were fun to watch and their offense is fun to watch. But what you said, which I thought was so interesting, because it pushes back to, I think it's a direct pushback to the notion of the circus. Because as you were saying that, and you were talking about him getting hit,
oh my God,
and you wrote no bad body language. I thought about all the times I've watched him play the last 2 years. I don't remember him ever spiking a ball in frustration after getting sacked. I don't remember him ever going like this or like pointing at somebody like, "What were you doing?" Like nothing. He just gets back up. There's no bad body language. He doesn't throw people under the bus ever.
He could have done that against Nebraska and been justified. In the Baylor one, the fact to me, after he took 5 straight sacks and then he stood there and took a monster hit, he could have on the next one just been like, F this.
Yeah. No, he stands.
Tough.
And did so with one of the worst offensive lines in college football and no run game.
No.
They don't even – there's not even a sense of, we got to worry about – now they got Dallin Hayden from Ohio State. They could never get him going at the run.
What number was he?
4.
4, yeah.
So they tried to get him going,
4,
never
23,
happened.
29,
they just
maybe.
couldn't get it going. But so
even like when they
it was ears pinned back, knowing
even pop passes to Travis Hunter, they never were able to block those well enough. I mean, it was rare that he was able to do much.
A lot of the time
throwing the football,
throwing the football down the field.
Yeah. I mean, he had
there's nothing gimmicky about what he does. There's nothing gimmicky about it.
Against Baylor, I don't know if you watched this game. Against Baylor, on the last drive of regulation, they're down 7. Starts off with the one where he gets the PI to Hunter. On the next play, he's stripped because the guy's unblocked off the edge on the backside as he's throwing, pushes the lineman away, and dives on the ball to get it. Down 7, less than 2 minutes. He doesn't get that ball. Game over.
Yeah.
He gets it himself. So now it's 2nd and 24. Runs for 17 yards to make 3rd and manageable. Throws a pass to a far hash out for 6 on 3rd and 7, makes it 4th and 1, and then he sneaks. I've seen him sneak like 4 times, always gets it. Good sneaker. And then play 87, which is the last play of regulation, is a Hail Mary. He rolls left, sprints out left, flips his hips, and throws a 50-yard touchdown on the money to tie the game, and then wins the game in overtime. I mean, I was very impressed, and I think that he's got the toughness to come here. He's going to, and you think about what I loved was in structure. One of the things I do when I watch it, and this was taught to me many years ago, when I probably back in 2014, honestly, with like Farmer and Sags and watching tape with all those guys. When I'm watching a quarterback, I'll look pre-snap, try to assess the defense, try to assess what's going on, look at the formations, and then kind of as the ball gets back and he's at the top of his drop, I'll pause it and try in my mind to be like, okay, this is where the ball's going to go. And with Shedeur, when I did that, that's basically the ball went there. I mean, there was one play where I was like, I would love to watch the tape with him and ask him why he didn't throw this.
Yeah.
Because he looks at it and he doesn't throw it. But that's really it. That was play 28 on offense against Nebraska, if anybody wants to go watch that one. But other than that, it was spot on. I mean, tough decision-making, accurate, promotes Yak with his ball placement. I mean, it would be hard for me to watch him and be like, no, we couldn't win with that guy. So one of the things that, and this is just coming from Jordan Reed, what needs work? Needs to get the ball out quicker, 2.9 seconds. I think it's very hard to look at that and say, and I know we'll take a break. We do Cam Ward later. But to look at that in isolation and say, he's holding the ball, he's trying to do too much. Folks, he's running for his life.
Yes.
He is running for his life. And one of the things that I looked up because I wanted to understand that is the time in the pocket and all of those things. And you can now at PFF, you can look at college and they have these types of things. He got it out in under 2.5 seconds, actually at a pretty high rate, and was incredibly successful when doing so. But it was just the fact that so many times he's running for his life the second basically that he gets the ball that causes him to hold it. It's not like Cam Ward's different, and we'll talk about that in a second, but Cam Ward
he doesn't have to see it open.
Cam Ward will eschew open in structure stuff to like try to drift, and he's got a rocket and then make a huge play. If it was there in structure, Shedeur took it.
Yeah.
It just, a lot of times he was legit running for his life. So
great breakdown.
I'm all in. I'm all in on him at 2. It would be very hard for.
We'll do Cam Ward coming up a little bit later. Your thoughts on that? Incredible breakdown to you on that.
Thank you.
Lots to get to on the program, including team number 2 of our our season review, off-season preview. It is the team that picks directly ahead of us. Before we do that, I should tell you that these are your hot topics today, presented by University Hospitals, official healthcare partner of your Cleveland Browns. Nick Suss, Tennessee beat reporter at the Tennessean, joining us coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. All right, welcome back in. Cleveland Browns Daily, presented by Ballybet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns. We continue our look around the AFC, a look back at the season that was, and a look ahead to the offseason that is. And on the Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea Hotline, official sponsor of your Cleveland Browns, keep it twisted, Cleveland, it is Nick Suss, Titans beat reporter at the Tennessean. He joins us there. Nick, thank you so much for taking the time. What are they going to do at number 1 overall?
You want to guess? Because I got a few. But,
that's where we're at. We're guesswork, huh, buddy?
No, I mean, look, they're putting in their due diligence. I think it is fair to say that there are only 5 reasonable choices that they have right now. So that's a little bit fewer than what you would imagine for anyone picking below them. But look, there are the 2 quarterbacks. There's Travis Hunter, there's Abdul Carter, and then there's the trade. Anything beyond that feels like an unlikely scenario right now. I think they are still in the process of doing their evaluation of everybody, but especially these quarterbacks right now. I think they said there's a 17-day period starting after the end of the Senior Bowl where they are holding themselves in a room and they are evaluating every prospect from number 1 down to the UDFAs. And after that 17 days, I think there's probably going to be a better picture of what they're leaning towards. But for now, they are still in the idea acquisition phase, and everything from drafting the quarterback to drafting best player available to trading out of the pick, I think is still on the table.
What did you make of the comment that, they are not necessarily going to take quarterback? They'd be open to the best player available or a generational talent, I think was the exact words, which is thrown away way too much. A generation there should be one per generation that's a generational talent. But, what do you what did you make of that comment? Did you read anything into that, or was that posturing, positioning? I mean, when you're number 1, you don't have to be secretive. You can really do whatever you want because nobody can stop you.
I mean, the cynical side of my brain says you that to keep as much leverage as possible for teams that want to move up. Like, I don't know if it actually does play an effect, but if you say, oh no, we're pretty much only going to use the pick if we like a quarterback, then that takes away some of your leverage to get a better deal from Cleveland or New York or Las Vegas or the other New York or New Orleans or whoever might be wanting to move up to 1 to get the quarterback of their choice. You lose that leverage if you don't say, oh, even if we don't like the quarterback, we'll pick a generational talent, because even if you have a very, very strict interpretation of the word generational, Travis Hunter probably fits that category by the factor of it's been 6 generations since the last time somebody tried to play 120 snaps a game.
Yep.
Like, he has a generational skill at the very least of nobody can play the endurance game that he can play. But nevertheless, I read into it saying this is a team that is course directing after last year, where they have come to the conclusion that one of the reasons why 2024 went as badly as it did is because they spent the 2024 offseason reaching. Because you spend a lot of money in free agency and you make drafts for fit instead of for building for the future, and you say, okay, all of our holes are plugged. We went 6-11. We're going to be better this year. And you go 3-14. Mm-hmm. So I think that if you are course correcting and you're saying the mistakes of the last 2 years were focusing too much on the present and not enough on the future, a team that's looking more to the future probably leans talent over quarterback. But that's all to say it's all posturing if you fall in love with Cam Ward or if you fall in love with Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah, that thing is, it's interesting. You look at the teams that are still playing, you look at the teams that are winning the ultimate prize of the Super Bowl. If you don't have that quarterback, you don't really have anything.
Nothing.
Yeah. Is there folks down there who believe that there is a chance that is there more to Will Levis than we've seen in 2 years? What would be the solution for them at quarterback if not at number 1 overall?
So it's very easy to look at connections, loose or strong, of like, say, hey, if Matthew Stafford comes available, him and Brian Callahan have a really good relationship from their time together in Detroit. If Derek Carr comes available, Derek Carr has worked with not just Brian Callahan in the past, but also with Nick Holtz, the Titans offensive coordinator, and Bo Hardigree, the Titans quarterbacks coach. Is that a connection that you think, oh, that could pay off? You look at Sam Darnold coming available. Realistically, there are probably 3 teams in the NFL that have a quarterback need and can afford to go after Sam Darnold this offseason.
Yeah.
I believe it would essentially be the Titans, the Raiders, and maybe you could make a case for the Giants. And then you have the Vikings if they want to franchise tag him. So I think the market for him actually might not be as competitive as one would expect. And then, obviously, this is a really deep year for retread quarterbacks of, do you want to take the chance on Justin Fields? Do you want to take the chance on Trey Lance, Zach Wilson, et cetera, et cetera? A lot of guys available this year that could theoretically, if you try to hit on who's going to be this year's Sam Darnold, those options are there. It's like I mapped this out a couple of weeks ago. I've got a list of 26 guys who I think could be the Titans starting quarterback next year.
26.
And I think I had Will Levis. And I think I had Will Levis in 17th place on the likelihood scale. That does not mean it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But like, if you are, or maybe I shouldn't say likelihood, I'll say what the team would want. Now, that doesn't mean it's not going to happen. He's under contract for 2 more years. He has not played in the same offensive system back-to-back years since he was a backup at Penn State. It has been a long time since he's gotten that opportunity, and you would hope for somebody of his talent that getting a second year in a system, he might be able to take that step forward. But look, the Titans turned the ball over 32 times last year.
Yeah.
Teams that turn the ball over that much don't
compared
win.
To us.
And like the only way that you could imagine that turnover rate increasing, and this isn't me making a joke, this is like very literal research, in the last 10 years, teams that have turned the ball over 32 times or more in a season, the only team that turned the ball over more times the next season started Jameis Winston at quarterback. So short of them going and getting him from Cleveland, I can't imagine they're going to turn it over as much as they did. It's luck-based. It's tough. Like, turnovers are strange. But also, I think of every team that had that drop-off, 97% of them either made a change at quarterback or head coach.
Yep.
And they didn't make a change at head coach. So you kind of have to imagine the quarterback change is coming.
Do you get a sense, and this is kind of the philosophical question, right? You look at that division, and you've got now Houston's won it, the last 2 years. They've won a playoff game each of the last 2 years. You've got Jacksonville, who has Trevor Lawrence. The Colts have been frisky, but they kind of feels like they're searching for a quarterback as well. Then you've got the Titans, who were obviously under Vrabel, very, very good, and went to the playoffs, number 1 seed, one of those years with Ryan Tannehill, but never won a Super Bowl. And probably because it was Ryan Tannehill. Do you think that the Tennessee just organizational philosophy is, hey, let's get to the point where we can win 10 games, compete for the division, and be relevant every year? Or is it, until we have a quarterback, we have nothing, and we need to do everything we can to get a quarterback that's going to be able to compete with Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, Lamar, just as the top 4, and then you get into Strouds and all of those guys. What do you think most describes what the ultimate organizational goal is?
Well, you've hit a bit of a nerve there talking about the Titans and organizational goal, because there are some mixed feelings, to be generous, about the direction this franchise has taken in the last 3 years and the lack of patience that the organization has exhibited. Okay. It's easy to forget, but week 12 or so of the 2022 season, the Titans were in first place in the AFC South. They were 7-4 or 7-5, and they fired John Robinson, their general manager, midseason in first place. They proceed to lose every game for the rest of the season and miss the playoffs. The next year, after going 7-10 that year, they go 6-11, fire Mike Vrabel. The year after that, 3-14, first pick in the draft, fire your general manager after just 2 years. This is a team that hasn't really settled on one plan.
Yep.
And the hope from Titans fans is obviously settle on a plan. You've got Chad Brinker in place. You've got, as your vice president, you've got, what's his name? I'm sorry, I was getting another call and got distracted. Mike Borgonzi in place as your new general manager. You've got all of these people in place that can theoretically be the steadying presence.
Yeah.
But if nobody is being that presence, you don't know what the philosophy is. And for years, the philosophy was as simple as, we've got Derrick Henry and you don't. Now the Titans don't have that, so if you're asking, are they waiting for a quarterback? Well, yes, but so are 29 teams in the NFL. Like, if you don't have one of the 3 or 4 best guys, you're always waiting to have one of the 3 or 4 best guys. But some of the issues go deeper with this team of, well, if you're going to struggle once and get fired for it, how much leeway do you have? Mm-hmm. And until the Titans prove that they are willing to kind of fit with one philosophy instead of changing it out every year, it's hard to even make too much of a prediction about what they want.
Right. It just from looking at, so Vrabel won 4 out of his 6 seasons there, had 4 winning seasons, 3 playoff appearances, obviously, 2 playoff wins, all in 2019. And they moved off of him when he was, regarded obviously as a very good coach. We had him here with us. I know that a big Titans fan, Jeff Jarrett, was very sad to see Mike Vrabel go. But it almost felt to me like they're saying, okay, that's not good enough. We need to go to the next level. But to do that, it has to be at the quarterback position. That's the only way that you can get there. I mean, it just feels pretty obvious to me, and I would imagine the Titans don't want to be picking first again. So if you're there, why would you not use that asset to try to attack the most important position, which is the most important position by a mile?
The simple answer would be because people are wrong for 40 to 50% of the time. Look, it is very logical to say that the only way to get to the top in this league is to have the best quarterback or to have one of the best quarterbacks. And I completely agree with that. But here's a little trivia question for you. There's only one quarterback in the 21st century who was picked in the top 5 and won a Super Bowl ring with the team that drafted him. One. There's only one. And it was Carson Wentz, who was a backup because he was hurt.
For the Eagles, yeah.
In the 21st century, no other quarterback selected in the top 5 has won a Super Bowl ring with the team that drafted him. Eli Manning is a huge asterisk because he was technically drafted by the Chargers. Right. But even if you want to count Eli Manning, there's one. It's Eli Manning.
Yep.
And so you're looking at a sample of 25 drafts right now where there's a quarterback picked in the top 5 almost every year. A lot of years there's 2 and 3 picked in the top 5.
Yep.
None of these guys are winning Super Bowls. So as much as it's easy to say, oh, just go get the quarterback, that's how you win, well, we have mountains and mountains of evidence that say since Peyton Manning, there hasn't really been a top 5 quarterback who has proven to be that elite championship-winning MVP caliber guy year after year. And maybe Burrow becomes that guy, and maybe Jaden Daniels becomes that guy, and there's so many people who could become that guy. Right. But let's not spit in the face of history and say, oh, it's as simple as just when you have a chance to pick a quarterback, pick him. Because a lot of teams have had a chance to pick a lot of quarterbacks, your Cleveland Browns included, and it hasn't always been the thing that leads to success.
No, we picked in the top 5 many times, and we've only picked 2 quarterbacks since 1999, Tim Couch and Baker Mayfield. I mean, I would say Josh Allen is of that ilk. If you were to, and you'd certainly say Burrow can be of that ilk. Jaden Daniels, I think it's very early, but we didn't
Josh
exercise.
Josh Allen was not a top 10 pick, obviously, or top 5.
Not top 5.
Was he
10.
6?
I think he was 6.
He may have been 6. Yeah. Maybe 6 is a good pick.
Yeah.
But yeah, just obviously an opportunity up there, and maybe you move down and you're still in the top 10 or whatnot. Mahomes skews everything by being the 10th pick in the draft.
Right.
But still, that's still a top 10 pick.
Yeah.
So it's just,
sure.
Yeah. And I think that
But you say you don't want to be at number 1, top 5 every year.
You certainly do not.
A lot of teams are top 10 every year.
Yeah, there's no point.
And you don't want to be that either, though. That means you're not
more than they pick in the top 3.
Yeah, that means you're not doing very well. The irony, of course, is that the Bills are the ones who traded that pick that became Mahomes to the Chiefs, and he's now bounced them, I think, 5 of the last 6 years.
Yeah, I think so.
In the postseason. It's interesting. I just think it's such a hard league, and especially, we share, look, we're second, you're first. We share the conference, that you are in as well, and that every year to do anything of consequence, you are going to have to beat most likely 2 of, just to get to a Super Bowl, you're going to have to beat likely 2 of Burrow, Lamar, Allen, and Mahomes. I mean, I just think that's a pretty good starting point. And if you don't have somebody that can do that or even give you a reasonable expectation of that, then you can say maybe our goal is, that's why I was asking the question. If our goal is to be the Bengals in the Andy Dalton era, win the division 4 times, don't win any playoff games, but we're a good team and a fun team and all that, that's one. And I think you can do that in a variety of ways. I don't think you can, if you want to win a Super Bowl, I don't think you can do it in a variety of ways. You have to have that guy.
And I think that's kind of an interesting thing that comes to place with the Titans is for years the Titans succeeded not because they were the 3rd or 4th best at doing what everybody else did, but because they were the best at doing what only they did.
Yep.
And now in this new era with Brian Callahan, they are trying to catch up and be the best the way other teams are the best. And that's a very successful strategy because obviously that's what leads to the Chiefs being so great and the Eagles being so great and all those things. But the Titans had something going with Derrick Henry, and before that with Chris Johnson, and before that with Eddie George, of being this downhill run-first team that had an identity like nobody else in the league. And it was harder to stop them just because they were the only team you had to prepare for like this. Now it is theoretically easier to prepare for them, but they're doing it the way that leads to championships.
Right.
Now, is it going to pay off? You need the right guys. But is it better to be near the championship by doing the thing that has been proven to not work? Like, look, the last running back who won a Super Bowl the year he was top 5 in the NFL in rushing was Corey Dillon back in 2004.
Yep.
Like, if Saquon wins this year, it's going to be a 21-year divide he's breaking.
Should have been Marshawn Lynch, but that's neither here nor there.
Marshawn was 6th in rushing the year he did win the Super Bowl. So I continue to cherry pick stats.
Yeah, I like
but nevertheless.
No, I was going to say the year when they didn't give it to him and they didn't win it.
Yeah.
That's when he probably should have done it.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what.
But all of that is to say,
go ahead.
You never know.
Yep.
No, you don't. And these two teams are going to be at the front of this thing, man. I mean, it's going to be Titans 1 and Browns 2, and they control how this goes over the next couple of months. So go ahead, Rick.
All right, not going to hold you to it, but if today you're on the clock, who's the pick for the Titans today?
Am I allowed to trade it?
No.
If I am not allowed to trade it right now, I would take Abdul Carter, and I would probably regret it. You're betting on not regret because he's going to be bad, but regret because you're always going to regret not picking the quarterback, and one of the two of them is going to be good. But I'm just not. I'm not confident in one or the other. In the same way that I think if Travis Hunter proves that he can play 120 snaps a game, I'm going to regret not picking him too.
Yeah.
But if the logic is take the thing that is best positioning you for getting better, I think taking a seemingly can't miss edge rusher in the top 5 is that.
Nick, really enjoyed this. Thank you so much for your time and your expertise and the feel for things going on down in Nashville. Thanks, pal. Really appreciate you.
Yeah, anytime y'all need me, I'm here.
That was good.
Nick Suss, Titans beat reporter at the Tennessean, joining us on the Twisted Tea Hotline, presented by Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea, official sponsor of your Cleveland Browns. Keep it twisted, Cleveland. You know what, Mike, what I came away with that, thinking about the big picture, just where the Titans are? I hope they stay at 1. Because I don't want someone going up to 1 and getting the quarterback and taking that out of, because my hunch is they're not taking a quarterback at 1.
I mean, I'd like them to say they're not taking quarterback, then you truly get your choice. But I've seen enough, though, that I think you can win with both of them.
I just would love us. I just don't know that there's the alignment down there. And so if there's not, and you just fire a GM, and you're looking at Brian Callahan, and Brian Callahan's probably thinking, if I don't win 7 games, I'm gone. Perfect.
And a defensive end's going to make you win 7 games?
No. Go get Derek Carr.
Sure.
Go make a play at Sam Darnold. Fine. Go do that. Win 7 games. Win 8. Draft Abdul Carter. Draft Travis Hunter. Perfect. We get the pick of the litter quarterback.
It's fine with me.
I would, and I think that feels like in play.
I think if you're picking number 1 in the draft and you're a team that needs a quarterback and you've watched both of these guys, not taking one to me means you're just you're scared.
So what he's had.
That's what I would say.
And he's right on the top 5. That number is 5. If you keep it at 5, obviously that's correct. That it's Wentz and it's Manning, and that's it. I would say Manning wasn't traded. They drafted knowing that he was not going to be a Charger. Everybody knew that. This is what number 1 overall gives you. It gives you the chance for your people to pick the quarterback you want.
Yep.
There is some luck that comes with landing a quarterback. Now, all of the reporting is that Andy Reid and everybody in Kansas City loved Patrick Mahomes. And so they were aggressive when he became available, but not so aggressive, and they didn't love him so much that they went all the way to 1.
Yep.
Or to 2. They didn't. They allowed other teams to pick ahead of them, and then it became such a point where it was like, okay, I know he's this good, let's go get him. Kind of like the Falcons last year with Penix. They didn't love Penix so much that they wanted to go all the way to 2 to take him, but when all of a sudden he was available, okay, let's do it. Same thing here.
They shouldn't have signed Cousins.
Of course not. That's a whole other. That's for another topic for another day. But what the Tennessee Titans have the ability to do, what hopefully we have the ability to do, is vet these quarterbacks and pick the one that you like. And the reality is that you're rarely in that spot. You rarely get to pick the one that you like. You need a combination of luck and happenstance, other teams not being interested, all of this to get there. It took a great deal of luck for Patrick Mahomes to be available for the Kansas City Chiefs. And Mahomes is trying to win his 4th Super Bowl.
And
Brady was a 6th-round pick.
It's already changed since then. Since that draft, for example, it's already changed. In that draft, if that draft with that draft class of Mahomes and Watson, Trubisky, who actually went third. If that draft happened again, like in 2025, those guys all go in the top 5. It would have been Miles, the 3 of them, and I don't even remember who else was in that draft that would have been the other one that goes up that early. But that's what it would have been.
Yes.
It's just a different and that's why those stats sometimes it's confusing, but you think of like number 1 overall picks, or top 5 picks, or if you want to take it top 10 picks. Yeah, Burrow didn't win a Super Bowl, but he went to a Super Bowl on his rookie deal. Goff went to a Super Bowl with the Rams and has certainly put Detroit in a position to go to a Super Bowl. I think Detroit, one of their big what-ifs is like, what if we had our defense?
Right.
They lost more than half of their starting defense, including their 3 best players on the defensive line. Gone. And they lose to a great offensive team in the Washington Commanders who lit them up. But he's been to a Super Bowl there, an NFC champion. It's about being realistically having a chance in the dance. Nobody wanted the Bengals to get in. I don't care how bad their defense was. Nobody wanted
any part of it.
No
part of it.
That's what it's about.
Yes.
And we went through it. I mean, the teams that score, the teams that have success in the NFL, that is the absolute fact of the matter. And the teams that score all pretty much have top 10 quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Half of them, 6 of the 12, were first or second overall picks. The outlier is Jalen Hurts, who has the best skill trio around him in the league.
And probably the best overall roster.
Best overall roster in the league. And who's better than he gets credit for in his own right. I mean, you watch that last game when he needed to make the one throw against Washington where they had a one-on-one and he had to throw a go ball to A.J. Brown. He couldn't have thrown that ball any better.
No.
Now, I do think that they like the teams he was talking about. Nick was talking about the Titans. Those Titan teams were very good, but they had to follow a particular script to win.
And there was a concrete ceiling
if
they weren't going to be able to burrow through. Right. There was never a situation where you went in, even when they were the 1 seed, and you went into the postseason and go, the Titans are going to win the Super Bowl. No, they're not.
No.
Because there was always a limitation for Ryan Tannehill.
It was like if you get down 10 in the second half.
Then they're tough to – then that's it.
It would be wild.
You have the same.
I don't even think we're saying anything crazy. Again, it's what do you truly want? Now, is it more fun for fans to be 10-7 every year, win a division here or there? For sure, we haven't won the division. You've got to win the division eventually. But right now you have a spoiled fan base in Pittsburgh, quite frankly, that's ready to run Tomlin out the door. The guy's had 18 straight winning seasons. Never lost.
Yeah, but no playoff success.
We've won a playoff game more recently. And
why? Because they haven't had Roethlisberger. They have everything else, but they don't have Roethlisberger anymore.
Yeah.
So they haven't won since he was in his prime. That's it.
I mean, when they had Roethlisberger, Le'Veon, Antonio Brown.
Well, they didn't win a Super Bowl with that team.
They did not.
Which is crazy. But
and to get right. It's hard, but to have a real shot, you've got to have that guy. And that's why it is more likely the Eagles absolutely can win this game. I think you've simulated a million times. It's probably going to end up something like 55% Chiefs, 45% Eagles. Of course they can win the game. But at the end of the day, the reason that the Chiefs are going to be favored in this game is because they have Patrick Mahomes.
They are 17-0 in one-score games because they have Patrick Mahomes most of the time. I mean, he's the reason. They're 17-0 in one-score games since 2023. That matters. Second hour of the program up next. You'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Ballybet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns on 850 ESPN Cleveland. All right, second hour, Cleveland Browns Daily. Howard Hanna, official real estate provider, your Cleveland Browns, exclusive buyer agent, there to help you navigate the field, save time and money, and score that winning touchdown. A new home. Win big with the leader in real estate. Visit howardhanna.com/go Browns today. Our buddy Pete Prisco from CBS Sports ranked every Super Bowl starter ahead of the big game. Okay. If Jalen Hurts isn't 2, then what's the point?
He's 14.
He's well down the list. Pete, the 2 quarterbacks go 1-2. They have to.
Pete is the biggest running backs are overrated guy, and he's got Saquon second, which is kind of a stunning thing.
Where is your excitement level for this Super Bowl? Tepid is how I would describe your face.
I mean, I'm excited to watch it. I absolutely will watch it. I'll be dialed in. I think it's cool to see the Chiefs chasing history. And I don't know if it's just because I was on vacation, but I was certainly on my phone, and so it doesn't feel like it has like the buzz of.
It doesn't.
In fact, the things that have been the most buzzy coming out of all the media stuff are Schmohawks making comments about the refs.
Right. A lot of that.
Like, who do you love more, Travis? Taylor Swift or a phantom 15-yard roughing the passer penalty?
How did Travis handle that? Was it just like, dude?
He's like, just next, basically, anybody else? Anybody else got a real question? I mean, you had the NFL's Referee Association put out a statement that, hey, you really think no crew does more than 2 games a year with a single team? You really think that of all these crews and thousands of officials that they're all working together to support the Chiefs? Meanwhile, the stats don't back that up. None of it does. It's to me, that's detracting from it. I mean, it really felt like the biggest NFL story was not, in fact, the Super Bowl at all, but was Miles.
Well, that it was. I mean, it dominated Monday in the national media. The only thing that took for us, obviously, around here, it was the biggest story. But the only thing I think that kept it from being even bigger was it was people reacting to Luka Doncic trade on Monday morning, because that was kind of the first time to react to that. So, like, most of us on the East Coast woke up Sunday morning to Luka Doncic being traded and going, wait a second, who trades a 25-year-old?
Yep.
I mean, that just never happens.
Nope.
What would the NFL equivalent of that be? Would it be?
So I said it would be Burrow
to like
to
the Rams
for Stafford, an older but still. I mean, Anthony Davis is legit.
Yeah, for sure. So
it's Burrow for Stafford and
Allen
and
for Stafford. Probably Allen, maybe even.
It's for Stafford and like a 3rd-round pick.
Yeah,
or less than that, isn't it? Was it a second?
It's a
round
first-round pick in 2029. But what does that even? Who knows what that means?
It's like a sophomore in high school.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it. So like that kind of overwhelmed it. Yeah, it's been a very quiet week media-wise. The thing that I had somebody say this morning on social, and I thought it resonated with me a lot. He said, the Super Bowl is just this thing that seems larger than life until your team is in it. So he was a Bengals fan. He said, when we were in the Super Bowl, it was all of a sudden like, oh, wow, everyone in the sport is now talking about us. People who have never talked about us before. And that's the thing. We have become so accustomed to Mannings into Brady. I mean, between the Mannings brothers, Brady, Mahomes, it's been a steady diet of the same stories / people for 25 years. So I think that there is a little bit of what more is there to know about the Kansas City Chiefs that isn't known? What more is there to know about the Philadelphia Eagles?
By the way, it's only been Niners or Eagles, right, in the last 4.
Yeah, right. You're right. So Niners, Eagles, like we've seen how many.
I guess Rams were in there once.
Yeah, the one time they won it, and they played for it the other time. So like, but that's 3 NFC teams: Rams, Niners, Eagles,
and the only
Rams twice. Right, Rams twice.
But that was a long time ago.
No, they played for it with Goff when they lost to Brady. I'm saying in the last decade.
Yeah.
We've had Niners,
Brady with the Bucks, Niners, Eagles, and Rams.
That's it. And then Mahomes and Burrow
and the Falcons in 52.
Oh yeah, with Ryan,
51.
With Ryan.
Yeah,
but that's 8 years ago.
That's a long time ago. Yeah.
That's how long it's been since you've had to meet new people. So you trot out Kansas City and you trot out Philly. What more is there to ask Travis Kelce that hasn't been asked? And by the way, like Barkley's new to this, but everybody else in Philly is kind of the same.
Yep.
There's some new faces in Kansas City, but they're not the faces that matter most. So it's Chris Jones, it's Kelsey, and it's Mahomes. It's all of them.
So it's been Chiefs. This is Chiefs-Eagles. Then it was Chiefs-Niners, Chiefs-Eagles, Bengals-Rams, which was kind of new, Bucks-Chiefs, which is actually Brady and Mahomes, Chiefs-Niners, Chiefs-Rams. And before that was actually in 18 was the Eagles-Patriots. So you've had Eagles 3 times since 18, the Rams once, Niners twice, Rams twice, Bucks once, but Brady.
Yeah, right. So there wasn't much new there. It was all about Tom.
All right, hold on. I'm going to do this. This will be fun. Okay. Since 14, it's either Peyton, Brady, or Mahomes, and in one case, both of them, has been in every Super Bowl but one.
And the only one that wasn't was Burrow and Stafford.
That's right.
And that's why there was a fresh feel to, I mean, no one here's crazy about seeing Cincinnati in the Super Bowl, but it was a fresh feel to the Super Bowl. It was like, oh, wow, I don't know these guys. We haven't seen these guys.
The Bills-Lions would have been, on a hype standpoint or newness, all of it would have been off the charts.
I think, yeah, for sure. Even Bills commies.
Sure.
Would have been Jaden Daniels and all of that, and Allen
Chiefs commies
and all
would
of
have
it.
been
all of it. Yeah.
big.
The problem is they're both repeats.
Yep.
So we have seen this game a lot. They play in the regular season. They've played in Super Bowls. Like, we've seen it, and we've seen these two teams so many times. Now, it's still going to do $100 million.
Yep.
Like, all
Listen,
of that.
we've been blessed
It's there's not the same buildup as there is if it was a more fresh-faced Super Bowl.
No, and we have 3 straight 3-point games in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
23-20 Rams, 38-35 Chiefs, 25-22 Chiefs. So those have been good games, and that's what you're hoping for again here.
My kids hate the Chiefs.
I know that drives me nuts.
It's so disappointing.
So disappointing.
I get it because I probably hated whatever the equivalent of that was when I was a kid. I don't know if I did or
Then
not.
you like the Lakers?
Well, that was just because there was only 2 teams on television when I was a kid. It was either going to be the Lakers or the Celtics. So
but I don't remember, for example, I don't remember Jordan ever getting.
What did I say earlier this week? I said exactly that this week. He's the only guy that I can recall who is great, and the other one might be Tiger. Up until the end.
Yeah.
They were the only people that you just watched in awe of their greatness. But you think about the slings and arrows that LeBron James has taken on over the last 25 years, Kobe Bryant took on while he played. Like, there were
some of that his own.
Some of his own, for sure. Like, yeah. But like a lot of people hated him. A lot of people hate LeBron. And I don't but it's there.
Oh yeah.
Right? We get to a point. You get to a point where, like, if you're around, and nobody hated, but Steph. I use Steph as an example. A lot of people hate the Warriors, hate Steph. There's a lot of that. Like, when I watch Mahomes, I just think it's a blast to watch.
People hated Brady.
Of course, Jordan and Tiger are probably the only two who were above that.
And I would say Jack was above, but that's going way back.
Yeah, hard to remember that. Lakers, Celtics. You picked sides. I'm sure a lot of people hated the Niners through the 80s, I would think.
I don't know.
A lot of people hated the Patriots.
Well, that, though, and remember I said that earlier in the week, there was Deflategate, there was Spygate. Like, there's none of that with Kansas City.
No.
Andy Reid's likable.
People are making up things that the refs are conspiring to cheat for them.
But isn't it about the exposure, though, that we have to them now? Like, you're saying your kids don't like the Chiefs, and it's like the exposure of how great they are. And
why do we not, though, as a society, you should be in awe of the greatness. That's the aspiration.
I'm not saying I'm not, but I'm saying
they're hated. There's no real reason to hate them other than they've been so good and I'm bored of it.
I think, Kevin, the point I think I made this point early in the week. Sometimes I forget what I say in the morning and what I say in the afternoon.
Yeah.
But I think I said something to the effect earlier in the week of the thing about the difference between Jordan and Tiger and the modern athlete. And I think LeBron would go for that. And I think in a way, Kev, your exposure comment is on point.
Totally.
It was such a joy because you didn't see him all the time. You didn't. And I think I mentioned this specifically. The only ads I remember Jordan doing were Nike, Gatorade, and Hanes. I don't remember seeing him hit. I don't remember being hit over the head with him constantly. It was like a big deal, even if you saw him in a commercial, because you didn't do that much of it, you know. And then I do think that there is some of that. There is this overwhelming exposure, and then you're being fed it with social media. I mean, Travis Kelce hosts a very popular podcast with his brother. Like, you weren't able to hear
totally
you weren't able to hear from those guys all the time. You're either going to get a long form interview in Sports Illustrated with Peter King, or you'd get a long form sit down. It was a big deal if one of those guys was on like up close. Just never happened.
No.
Now we see him constantly.
Yeah. So
I think the exposure, I think that's part of it too. But yeah, I told the boys, I'm like, well, I'm rooting for the Chiefs. I want to see history, baby. I want to see a little history.
And by all accounts, you know, Mahomes, Kelce, Andy Reid, all really likable people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not like they're trying to lean in and play the heel, or
no,
they've been bad people or whatnot. It's really just, it's a very interesting thing. People would like the Chiefs more if they like fell on their faces for a few years and then scratched it back together and had a second run, you know? And I think part of it with the Patriots as well, now part of it doesn't hold water, but it felt like they were dominant in two periods, that they were dominant in the early 2000s and then dominant in that second run there in the 2000 teens. Mm-hmm. So there was like space. But the reality is, they went to 8 straight AFC championships in the 2000 teens. 8 straight AFC championships. Now, the Chiefs have gone to 7, but it's just it's interesting. I think what makes, and you and I, you know, work every day in an NFL building, and you know, I certainly have the utmost respect and appreciation for the insanely hard work and hours and all of it that goes into trying to be successful. And we obviously have had, you know, mixed results at best here, 2 winning seasons in the last 5. But in a game in which the margins are so thin, in a game in which a turnover here, or it comes down to a few plays a game, and if you're on the wrong side of them, you're going to lose, that in those moments, this Kansas City Chiefs team, year after year after year after year after year, can do it, much like Brady did. That's a level of greatness and coordination and commitment and buy-in and execution that is staggering. This is not, now in the NFL, a quarterback, obviously singular greatness can help carry you, but again, Joe Burrow had one of the best seasons a quarterback's ever had, didn't make the playoffs. Lamar had maybe the greatest season a quarterback's ever had when you think about everything involved in what he did as an offensive weapon, and they didn't even get to an AFC championship.
Yeah.
It is so hard. So their greatness should be appreciated. In the NBA, you have a LeBron, you have a Jokic. Obviously, you have to put some pieces around him, but like, it's a lock. The NFL is still, even though you have a quarterback, it's still such a team game.
Yeah, there's so many.
And the Bengals are the perfect example of this year. Like in the NBA, there's no chance a top 5 player in the league's team doesn't make the playoffs. And if you're really a top 5 player, other than say like a Carmelo or a Chris Paul for a long time, you win at least one playoff series.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, it's just a lock.
Yeah,
just by having one dude.
One guy can do it. Yeah,
yeah. That's not the NFL.
No, it's so much
like
harder.
To have this run of greatness, and think about how the Chiefs have transformed themselves to the wide open 5,000 yards, 50 touchdowns, Tyreek Hill's running here, you're airing the ball out, Kelce's still a young pup, to kind of a tough, hard-nosed, we're going to run it, we're going to throw it when we need to, Mahomes is going to extend drives with his legs when he needs to, our defense is going to be locked down, we're going to be physical, and we're going to dial up blitzes when you least expect it and win that way. It's crazy, the evolution that they've had.
No.
It's incredibly impressive. It's a shame to me that people are choosing to be negative about their greatness instead of just being in awe of it, but it definitely is. People like the undiscovered, they like the way up, and then when they get there and they're too big for two, it's like
Batman line, right? Yeah. It's the line from Batman. You're the hero long enough, you lived yourself to see yourself become the villain. Same thing. I said this earlier too, like, it's Kansas City. This isn't the Cowboys.
Right.
Like, they went from the pride of Alliance winning Super Bowl III. I mean, that's a long time ago to this run. Like, they weren't some preeminent team. They had a fun run with Christian Okoye, and then they got Montana in the 90s. And were kind of interesting, but like
AFC Championship thing as far as
there,
they got.
There wasn't, even in those days, it was like, well, yeah, but they're going to have to play an NFC team, and they're going to get smoked in the Super Bowl. Like, they haven't been Super Bowl contenders for much of their existence. Just weren't. All right, we'll go around the sports world. Kyle Brand had one of my favorite things I saw on the internet today that absolutely summed up not just Super Bowl.
I love to see my favorite things.
But,
I agree.
But also
the combine.
Also the combine. It was very, very similar to that. We'll get to all of that coming up next. Listen to Cleveland Browns Daily, presented by Bally Bet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns on 850 ESPN Cleveland. All right, welcome back. Cleveland Browns Daily, presented by Ballybet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Get Z's thoughts on Cam Ward here momentarily. A little deep dive on the other quarterback. Take a look at Jordan Reed's NFL mock draft as well. Let's go around the sports world quickly. Another NBA trade. The Bucks traded Chris Middleton, Al Johnson, a pick swap to the Wizards in exchange for Kyle Kuzma. I don't know who the rest of these people are, but the NBA's had it's been active. You had Luka AD over the weekend, and then you had De'Aaron Fox was traded to play with Wemby in San Antonio as well. What were your thoughts on the Luka thing? I know you and I pay attention to the NBA. Certainly interested in the Cavs and kind of pay attention to it. Don't watch like we used to, but at the same time, a 25-year-old who's a 5-time first-team All-NBA being traded, there's no real precedent for that.
No, and it sounds. Correct me if I'm wrong on this, because again, I'm like your kids were just reading on the internet. So the fact that they did this cost him the ability to get a supermax contract.
It cost him $100 million.
So that feels kind of personal.
Yeah.
And also, like, the guy just took you to the NBA Finals last year, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe this will motivate him to get in shape. I thought when they took that beer out of his hand last year after he was celebrating.
We took note of that.
Yeah,
what was that about? Sitting there with his dad having a beer after clinching the Western Conference Finals, you're going to take the beer out of his hand?
Out of his hand. Yeah, that felt silly to me.
Yeah.
Listen, I've always thought, and I know it's ironic because people say, LeBron is best when he's ball dominant. I always thought LeBron was really also great when he had a guy who was ball dominant with him who could shoot, like Kyrie. Mm-hmm. It takes a lot of stress off him and pressure off of him, and you can kind of use them in waves. Both of those guys can carry the offense. Like, you should always have one of them on the floor at all times, and you've got an elite offense with that. I like it for them. On the Dallas side of it, it's not that Anthony Davis is washed by any stretch of the imagination, but it does feel like a fleecing for the Lakers.
Yeah, and they've done this their whole history. They got Wilt from the Sixers. They got Kareem from the Bucks. They got Shaquille O'Neal free agency. They got Paul Gasol. They got LeBron James. Yeah. They also pulled off some of the craziest draft trades to teams, including Stepien with the Cavs. That's how they got Worthy.
They got Kobe.
That was for Vlade Divac. They didn't own the Magic Johnson pick. They traded for that. I want to say it was Utah. And it was like Gail Goodrich and somebody to Utah, and they ended up getting Magic Johnson, number 1 overall. And then they win a couple of titles, and then all of a sudden James Worthy, they get the number 2 pick again. I want to say it's Ted Stepien with the Cavs, sold the pick. I think the Lakers bought it. That's the Stepien rule, right? I think that's where that comes from. So then they get Worthy, who was the National College Player of the Year in '82, to pair him with Johnson. Then they trade Vlade Divac for Kobe Bryant, the draft rights to Kobe Bryant. Like, they've done this forever. This is what they do. And now they're set up with a 25-year-old.
Vlade we likes to potty.
Yeah.
Then there was the trade they pulled off for Chris Paul that David Stern blocked.
Because the NBA owned the Hornets.
Yeah.
If they'd done that, though, I don't think they would have won the title, because that Andrew Bynum was in that deal, and so was Lamar Odom. And the titles that they won with Gasol, Bynum were on those teams, and so was Odom. And part of the thing that they had was that incredible amount of length up front with the 3 7-footers. So they don't. If that deal goes through, they probably don't win. I don't think.
Yeah. Lakers play the Mavericks February 25th. Mark your calendars.
Yeah. It'll be a fun one. Ryan Russillo had the funniest. Him and Simmons went on right after it happened live on the West Coast, because they were still up, because this happened in the middle of the night. And Russillo goes, "I don't give a blank. Luka could smoke a cigarette bringing the ball down the court, and I wouldn't trade him." And I thought that was the funniest line, because he's exactly right.
It's true.
He's a 25-year-old, 5-time first-team All-NBA. I don't care what the problems with him are. If people in front office and management have trouble with him, find new people.
Yeah.
He doesn't get traded.
They're saying he's 270?
Who cares? He was just in the finals last year.
Yeah, I think it's wild.
Yeah, absolutely. This absolutely cracked me up. Kyle Brandt of Good Morning Football. We've had him on the show. He's great. He did something this morning on Good Morning Football that absolutely pleased me greatly. It was how every single conversation goes between two media members at the Super Bowl city. I would also tell you that you could just put in the combine for this, and It works perfectly.
Perfectly.
Let's have a listen to Kyle.
This is, if you are a media member already in New Orleans or one that's going, I just want to touch base with you about this. This is how every single conversation goes between media members during Super Bowl week. It consists of 3 questions, all right? You're going to be standing at a party, you're going to have a drink, you're going to have some sort of bracelet on, and you're talking to someone who you don't really know, but you kind of know them from social media, and the whole time you're talking to them, they're kind of looking around the room, and so are you. But you guys will exchange 3 questions in that social exchange. Question number 1, when'd you get in? Yep. And if they say, oh, just today, you go, oh, yeah, nice, end of the week. It makes sense, save money, get more time at home with the fam. But if they say, been here since Monday, you say, whoa, long haul, been there, man. Bet you can't wait to get home, right? That's question number 1. Question number 2, where are you staying? And they're going to say the Hyatt or the Hilton, and you just go, nice, nice. Or you could say, whoa, wow, high roller, huh? Must be nice for you. That's question number 2. And the third question, they all must be asked in every exchange. Question number 3, you staying for the game? And if they say yes, you say, nice, nice. Yeah, I just hope it's close. Just hope it's close. But if they say, no, I'm actually going to go home Saturday morning, you say, yeah, see, that's the way to play it, man. You get home on your couch. That's a veteran move right there. You know how to play it. And then you end the whole exchange by just saying, we should catch up, man, which you just did. And it's always, I'll text you. All right, cool. Be good. That's how every single exchange goes every year, all week.
I mean, he nailed it.
Nailed it. Combine, you don't have the are you staying for the game piece, but
you do have are you staying for the weekend?
For the weekend, yeah. Right.
Because most of the heavy lifting is done the first couple of days. So it's like, are you going to stay for them for the throwing and running and on field? You staying for the on field? No. There's no reason to. You can just watch it on TV. You're safe.
Perfect. You're safe.
Or maybe I'll see it at Elmo's.
I mean,
like that's the whole thing.
The best was you're talking to somebody and their eyes are constantly looking around the room for somebody better to talk to. You're kind of doing the same. I mean, that is like the AC playbook, which is outrageous. That
guy's playbook is
it's a lack of self-awareness on a massive scale.
Yeah, very much. Go ahead, Gibby.
No, that's 100% why I'm lurking. I'm talking to someone. I'm like, oh, okay, cool, sweet. Oh, wait, there's Chris Sims.
Oh, we got to get Chris Sims, his boy.
We'll come back to you. I got to get Sims first.
All right, we'll do a little higher, lower. Also get Z's breakdown of Cam Ward. It's coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily, presented by Ballybet, official sports betting partner of Cleveland Browns on 850 ESPN Cleveland. For the first time ever, witness Inter Miami take on the Columbus Crew Saturday, April 19th. Huntington Bank Field, secure your spot to see some of the MLS's biggest stars. Visit huntingtonbankfield.com/crew versus Miami to get your tickets today. We did the Shedeur Sanders breakdown from you. Let's do a little Cam Ward.
All right, here we go. Cam Ward. And again, went into this really not knowing much about him, just that a lot of people liked him as the top guy in this, and it's been kind of mixed. But you even read what Jordan Reed says. Two guys have separated themselves. They are Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders. So kind of go through the same things. For Cam, I've watched 3 games, and these are kind of just some of my thoughts on that, and including his bowl game where he just played a half and against an Iowa State team that had a pretty good defense, right? They were like a pretty legit team.
Yeah,
he looked quite good against them. So same kind of categories, just general speaking, then I'll talk about a couple of plays that I really like. But arm, very strong arm. Ball jumps out of his hand, can throw absolute lasers anywhere on the field, rockets 40 yards and under, especially down the middle of the field. The arm is elite, it seems, can attack every blade of grass with power and precision. When he really slings it under 15 yards, I think he has a low margin for error on timing and accuracy because the ball is just moving so quickly that receivers drop some that are in the catch radius, or it's like he thinks they're going, but they kind of throttle down a half step, and if the ball's thrown with a little bit less pace, they would be able to still catch it. And they're just like rockets.
Yeah.
Got better, I thought, as the season went on with some of that touch, but that arm is, in terms of arm strength, he's got plenty of arm. Release, quick and powerful, can flick it from any angle. Not as consistent in his motion. I noticed this a few times that he can tell he's a fan of Lamar and Mahomes, very loose with his mechanics. Default is slightly sidearm release. It's interesting, down the field, when he really slings it, because I think it's a little sidearm, there's a little spin on it. Actually, the ball kind of moves a little right to left in the air, which I noticed on some of his balls down the seams. The release is lowish given his stature. Definite when he's in phase, in structure, slightly sidearm release, but with a lot of whip and velocity, can throw from any arm angle. Natural is slightly low, but powerful and accurate, even without stepping into many throws. Footwork is not what I would call NFL level, consistent and somewhat flat, and nonchalant is the word I use a bunch of times. Nonchalant at times. Just like we'll stand there completely flat-footed, not even step, and just be like, psh. And he throws good throws. And I said, he's Lamar Mahomesian in that regard. Pocket tends to drift left naturally, so he'll take the snap and just kind of be moving left. He will fade back and back and back and back. In the NFL, I think he'd have to be more precise with the depth of his drop because sometimes he gets so deep it makes it tough on his tackles. He's very good, though, climbing up and out of the pocket like Jameis on a 45-degree angle with his eyes down the field to throw on the run, and he can make big plays throwing on the run right or left. Accuracy, I said ball can move right to left on him in the air. At times, ball placement has been good, though, from all arm release angles and bases, but when he misses, it's wide, and with velocity, that can lead to tips and picks, which I saw in the game against Florida. Some of his big-time throws, I think he had a bad pick 6 against Cal as well. Some of his big-time throws are almost so good it seems like a video game. Deadly accurate down the field. Deadly, guy's a chunk play machine. Also good at hitting his receivers and striding, setting them up for yak. Again, insane accuracy and touch down the field. I thought he throws his deep ball is electric, and sometimes it looks so nonchalant, but it is so good. They have a good receiver, number 7. As you know,
I only watched them play once or twice.
And then do they have a good tight end?
It's entirely
G-Man
possible.
Would know.
Elijah Arroyo.
Yeah,
like number 8 or something like that. I think it was number
80, yeah.
Number 8, I think. I thought
he was big in the Senior Bowl.
He's I like him on tape. He looked quite nice. So, yeah, good actually decision-making. Said sees it well but tends to hold the ball and drift as he hunts for an even bigger play. There were plenty of times he could have had the ball out for a nice gain in structure but wanted to try to hold it and get to the huge play. I said, now he's very good at that, but in the NFL you have to take the quick layups and easy yards. Sometimes he stares down the receiver and invites coverage. Mm-hmm. And that's as he's looking for some of the big plays. Tough. Took some big hits, gets right up. Tough for first rusher to get him down. Ability to shrug off rushers or elude them and still make big plays. Runner, not afraid to pull it and run up. The first read isn't there. Not really. He's not like a Lamar dynamic. Felt like he's a little bit more of a dynamic runner than, say, Shedeur. But, again, he is more of a run to extend the throw player like Shedeur, but able to pull it down and get it there. But just like, you're talking about just some nutso throws. There was a game in the game against Florida, which was the season opener, a 3rd and 11, eludes a sack, rolls out left, flips his hip, Jeff George style, throws a rocket 35 yards in the back to the back of the end zone on the money for a touch. Wow play. There were some where he read it properly, but he was so quick on on delivering the football, and there's so much velocity. Even though a safety looked like he could have been in the play, the ball's just there before the safety could even react. So I thought very good there. Can get it out real quick, right or left on wide receiver screens. Hits guys in stride, as I said. He can run the RPO game, all of that. He can throw across his body pretty effortlessly. In the Iowa State game, I mean, he had a touchdown that he literally didn't even move his feet. It was just the most nonchalant thing that was over a linebacker in front of a DB, perfect placement. Makes some big plays, escaping the pressure. I talked about it. He gets out on that 45-degree angle like Jameis, 2 eyes on the ball, can make big, big plays. In the game against Iowa State in the first half, play 16 was a huge NFL play. 19 got away from an unblocked guy in the A-gap, climbed the pocket, looks like he's running on the dead run. He flips it with touch over the linebacker to the tight end for a big chunk. Just his ability to just throw the ball it really is. It's stunning. He is much more of, in my estimation, kind of like a chunk play machine. He will be, you would have to coach him in structure to just take it. Just take, because he's always wanting to make the huge play, but certainly quite capable of it. And a bigger arm than Shedeur, not as accurate as Shedeur, not as in structure as Shedeur, but, I mean, he is a chunk play machine.
Starts at Incarnate Word, ends up at Washington State, and then eventually Miami for 1 year. Was in the draft process a year ago, and the NFL said, nah, not.
Right.
Goes to Miami, plays on a really good Miami team, and he's a Heisman frontrunner for much of this season.
Yep.
And it's really not until they lost, I think, they lost two of their last three in the last month of the season that pushed them out of the playoff, and then they lost that bowl game that you're speaking of. They didn't play a lot of games where it was like talent for them. In fact, in terms of ranked teams, they only played one ranked team this year, and it was Iowa State. That's it.
He looked good against them.
He did. So what I'm always interested in, all right, well, what is similar talent? So Florida would have similar talent.
Yep.
In the Florida game, 26 to 35, 385, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick.
Yeah,
you take that. The Louisville team would have a similar talent. In that one, a 52-45 Miami win. He was 21 to 32, 319, 4 touchdowns, no picks in that game. In the loss to Georgia Tech, he was 25 of 39 for 348, 3 touchdowns, no picks. In the loss to Syracuse, he was 25 of 36, 349, 2 touchdowns, no picks. The reason I tell you that, it's not him. That's not why they lost. They lost to Syracuse 42 to 38. Here are their 3 losses: 28-23 to Georgia Tech, 42-38 to Syracuse, and 42-41 to Iowa State.
He only played the first half.
Right, and they scored.
They scored
against everybody.
Yeah.
They scored.
He like I said, really, really good, really impressive. The Iowa State game, he threw 3 touchdowns in the first half, and some of them were just absolute dimes. Absolute dimes. I mean, his ability to throw the ball down the field is really good. Now, he had a play in that game that should have been a pick, and it was one where I liked his decision.
The Iowa State game?
Yeah, it was play 34 on offense. He knew it was cover 3, and so he had a vertical on the right side that he thought was going to clear out that corner, and then his tight end kind of leaked and did a post that would take him kind of, deep onto the right sideline. And if he had just either held the safety or even looked at the vertical on the right side, I think he would and come back to the tight end, it would have been a big play. But what he did was he kind of just stared at the tight end, and so that corner that was on the vertical on the right sloughed off because he saw that's where he was throwing it.
Yep.
And he basically threw it right to that corner. And so that's just kind of the stuff that he needs to do. Now, it's interesting. I'm reading so those were all my words. Here's Jordan Reed's word, where he excels. And the other thing I note on here, both of these guys, clutch. Cam Ward, third down, clutch, fourth quarter, clutch. Shedeur, same way. He said basically, electrifying playmaker, true. Throw from multiple arm slots. I talked about that. Generate velocity with ease, no matter the position of his body, true. Like a shortstop maneuvering the infield. That's one of my notes in there. He throws the ball like an infielder at times. 88.7 total QBR, ranked second in the country. 29 completions of 20-plus air yards, tied for 5th. I mean, he can throw it down the field. He is a chunk play machine. Best in his biggest moments, fourth quarters, 93 QBR in the fourth quarter, third in the country. Comeback wins against Virginia Tech and Cal, included 238 fourth quarter passing yards against the Golden Bears. He had a bad pick 6 in that game. This is where he said where he needs work. And this is true. He has times where he has to scratch his itch for reckless plays, and it leaves you asking, what the heck was he thinking there? I like him, and I don't know if that can be coached out of him. Work in progress when it comes to controlling careless plays, head-scratching decisions outside of structure that lead to turnovers. Also had spurts of inaccuracy against Georgia Tech. Scouts want to see Ward get the ball out quicker. He has a habit of looking off open options in the short and intermediate areas and progressions to search for explosive plays. That is totally, totally true. Totally true.
But the notion that neither of these guys have elite traits, I just find nonsensical.
Ridiculous. These guys, I think it would be – Tennessee Titans don't take quarterback. I think that would be crazy, and I certainly would like us to take a quarterback. I think you absolutely can win with these guys, no doubt. So here's what he says about Shedeur, which, again, I want to make sure I did nothing. I came up with all kind of my own categories and notes here. He said – when protecting the pocket, Sanders' rhythm, calm demeanor, and accuracy are among the best in the country. Shows great ball location in the short and underneath areas. Despite facing pressure on 40% of his dropbacks, ranks first in completion percentage. His poise and ball placement improved throughout the season. His 6.5 ARF target rate was third lowest mark in the FBS as he allows his receivers to easily get yards after the catch. Assistant GM from an NFC team said he's been the best of the bunch to me. I've been impressed by his growth. On-field demeanor has been contagious so far, and the results have shown that on the team. Sanders' 11 go-ahead touchdown passes were tied for second most in the country. Again, both these guys clutch winners. Yeah. As the moments heighten, his heartbeat remains the same. It's that unwavering confidence that excites scouts the most. Where he needs work, he needs to get the ball out quicker. Average 2.9 seconds before throwing this season, tied for 110th in the FBS, while plenty of blame can be put on his inconsistent protection. That's an understatement. Needs to trust his expiring internal clock and distribute. Tends to drift backward or search for escape lanes out the side of the pocket. Needs to cut down on taking avoidable sacks and compounding mistakes. 42 sacks he took were the most in the FBS. I'll tell you what, again, I only watched 4 games. It's amazing to me he didn't get sacked double that time. Seriously, crazy. Under Shermer, Colorado's passing attack. I'd love to get Shermer on here to talk to him about him. I think we can probably do
get Pat on.
More of an underneath, average 7.4 air yards per attempt. He attended the East-West Shrine game, didn't participate. Well, mentioned how well he interviewed there, genuine and open, praised his understanding of the game. So
really likable kid.
He definitely can throw the football down the field. I mean, in the games I watched, he certainly threw the ball down the field. That 7.4 number is going to be skewed by they tried to get a running game out of pop passes, which are going to have negative air yards. And then they did throw a decent amount of wide receiver screens, just try to get the ball out and avoid the sacks. But he definitely has no problem putting it down the field. And I would say the majority of the throws that I was charting were certainly down the field. I don't even really, I'll be honest with you, when I watch quarterbacks, I don't even look at pop passes. I look at the screens to see, like, are they putting it on the right side and allowing them to make plays, and how quick does it get to them? Well, that's not what I'm watching for.
All right, we'll do higher lower maybe tomorrow on the program. We'll fit that in with Jordan Reed's higher lower. So much more to come. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. All right, there you go, kids. We are back tomorrow for more fun. The next level is coming up next. Thanks for listening, everybody. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland.
You've been listening to